All right, we're back. So we kind of just wrapped up in the last one a really quick video showing, the detail page of a venue. However, we're using this placeholder image, just kind of like a random placeholder using picsome.photos, which is fine, but I think the next logical thing for us to do is actually deal with image uploads, really file uploads, but specifically images. So let's get this started. I am going to go to the server side, and we're going to start by doing some configuration. Yay! So I'm going to open up our server.dart. And the first thing we need to do is actually install a new package. We haven't installed many packages on the server. We just have our normal Serverpod. I think we maybe installed Dio to do something, if I recall correctly. Well, we can look. Let's see our pub spec. Yeah, we have Dio and we have Serverpod, and then we installed the module auth server. We're going to install essentially another module just by going Dart. Remember, not Flutter, but Dart pub add, and it's called Serverpod Cloud Storage S3 because we want to store our assets on an S3. In general, you don't want to be storing assets on your actual application server because your application should be stateless, meaning it's really just the code, the business logic, all that kind of stuff. And whether you have, one instance of your server or 1,000, you're spinning up new ones, they all will be identical. You don't want to be storing them on your server because then you can't really load balance. One server will have half the files, the other will have the other. It's just proper practice, and I very much follow, and we'll be following in here, something called the 12-factor app. Those interested in building apps, and by apps I mean like services, backend apps, give this a read. It was written by one of the creators of Heroku, and it's awesome. And really, Heroku, for instance, which I think, aside from Salesforce owning it, is a really great platform. They obviously follow this to a T because, that's why, they go hand in hand. But you'll notice pretty much like anything that's like a Docker-based system, containerized applications will follow this. Okay, nice little rant. Let's get into it. So the first thing we want to do, first thing was installing that. Now we're going to import it. So I'm going to just do it where we did auth, and same kind of thing. Import our server cloud storage as S3 just to kind of keep it namespaced to that. Now, what we need to do, similar to how we configured our auth, and maybe I'll put a little comment here, auth. Let's have one for our media, I'll call it. So for this, we're going to essentially take our pod and we're going to add something to it. We're going to add cloud storage. And here we have to use our s3.s3 cloud storage to say we're going to use S3. Serverpod has essentially packages for the other major services, cloud services. I'm just happy with Amazon, so why not? Now this has some required parameters we need, such as Serverpod itself, the region, all this kind of stuff. So let's go get that in. So for Serverpod, we just do a reference actually to pod itself. Storage ID, we're going to call this public, just to kind of give it a that it's going to be for public files. We can also say public true. Region, so this we need to put what our AWS region is. So I'm going to do CA Central 1 because that's just a region that is close to me in Canada, but of course, whatever your bucket is, you'll need to do. And then we need a bucket name. So I'm not sure what that is yet because I haven't created it yet. So we're actually going to go through and create a bucket. I have my Amazon console open. I'm going to go to S3, and we're going to create a bucket. I am going to give this bucket a name. We'll just do general purpose. Let's just call this open mic, and I'm going to call it develop, because this is kind of just our develop environment. In theory, you'll have a staging bucket and a production bucket. And we will do ACLs. We're going to use object writer. Some of these options won't actually matter, but this is just my preferred way. And then I do want to turn on public access because I want these files to be essentially accessible outside of being logged into AWS. Bucket versioning I'm going to enable for possible future use, not really required, but I'm just going to do that. And I'm going to make sure my region, look, my region, North Virginia. That's fine, I'll just use North Virginia. It'll be easier than having to go through this process again. So it's USA East 1, not Central, is what we want here. And then we just need our bucket name. There we go. Now, we have to do that. Now, this doesn't have our security credentials in it, which is something we need to do. And in order to do that, we're going to open up our passwords dot, I think it's called YAML. Maybe it's not. Oh yeah, it's not version controlled, so it won't show up that way. But in config, you'll have a passwords.yaml here. And these are like all my local passwords and stuff like that. And what we want to do in here is actually put some credentials for our Amazon. And we're basically going to need two things. We're going to need AWS Access Key ID and our AWS secret, which we'll just kind of have here. I'm going to fill those in a moment, but how you would want to get them is, there's many ways, but ideally what you would do is you would go into IAM right here, and you would create a new user essentially that, and you give it a username. Actually, I guess I'll just do it. Let's just call it OpenMic S3. And what we will do is we'll just attach policies directly. This is the proper way to do it is actually just to create a bucket policy that only allows this one to write. But for development purposes, I don't really care. And we can tweak that up in the future. But basically, we would pick something like Amazon S3 full access is one way to do this. And we go next, and we create the user. So now Amazon Mic S3, if we go to security credentials, we will go and create an access key. And I'm just going to use this again, it's just for development. You can, spend a bit more time, learning about AWS if you want to make it like really, not that this won't be secure, but you can make it so that it's just like meant for, very specific things. I'm going to skip the description tag. And here I get my access key, which is public, so I can show it on the stream. But what I'm going to do is basically pause, hide my screen, show my secret, just so I don't have to deal with people stealing my keys. But basically, you're going to want to copy this after you reveal it and obviously paste it in. So I'm just going to go into a little BRB mode right now. Oh, where did I go? Where did I go? I'm going to copy it, and we're going to put it in. And I'm going to close that passwords file and just get out of this page. And we'll come back. Oh, we're back. What happened? Okay, so really our bucket name is going to be called OpenMic Develop. I forget if that's what... Oh, I did call it that. And we should be good. So let's start up our server. I don't believe there's any database stuff to do with the S3 connection, so we should just be able to essentially do our Dart CLI or bin main.dart. We'll see an error if we mess something up. Okay, it looks like we're good. So we've configured our S3. Beautiful. Now, what we want to do now is actually make an endpoint for this. Now, we're not going to make... The way we're going to work with images and assets is whether it's for a venue, whether it's for an event, whatever, it doesn't matter. We're going to have essentially an asset that gets created, uploaded to S3, and can be used anywhere. Because all we're going to be storing on our models, if we look at, let's look at, for instance, venue, we have a primary image URL. All we care about is the URL itself, not, the whole thing. So what I would like to do now is set up this endpoint. So I'm going to call this asset endpoints.dart. Now, what I'm going to show now, this is completely covered in the docs of Serverpod. I didn't make this up, but basically we're just going to call it asset endpoint, and it's going to, like normal, extend our endpoint right there. And I'm just going to paste these in because this is I'm just pasting from the docs on my other screen right now. So we just had to make sure the storage ID is what we used over there. We could call these whatever we wanted. And in theory, you could have multiple buckets for different things. Like maybe you have stuff for, if we wanted to separate things between venues and whatever, we could. But this is totally fine. Okay, so we have our asset endpoint. Now, the way Serverpod handles assets, I think, is very smart. And it is kind of the proper way of doing things. But basically how it works is, as the front end will talk to Serverpod to get what's called an upload description. And what that does is it's going to talk to AWS on our behalf using those secret keys and stuff to essentially say, hey, I want to upload a file. And AWS is going to be like, cool, here's some secret information. It's temporary, a token, all this kind of stuff to allow a file to be uploaded here. Then that's going to come back to the client, and our Flutter app is going to upload directly to S3. It's not going to go through the server, meaning even if it was a really big file, our server is not going to touch it. It's not going to care. So it's a good way to save, money. It's a good way to also just save processing time of your server. And then once that's done, we call the verify upload with that same path that we used here. And this will basically do the same kind of thing. It's going to check to make sure the file exists and return true or false. So that's basically how it works. So we're going to generate this endpoint now by doing serverpod generate. Here's a warning I'm seeing. So let's go to our YAML. We've talked about this before in previous ones, but we always want to make sure that whatever version of Serverpod we're using, we specifically say we're using that of its modules, just to make sure they are consistent. And then if we notice Serverpod 2.0.2 comes out, we'll come up and upgrade everything. We basically just don't want like this one to get upgraded without that one, which might be happening in this case. So I'm just going to save that. I'm going to regenerate. I don't think it's necessary, but no harm, no foul to do it. All right, so now we have our new endpoint. So let's go back to our Flutter app and actually do some stuff. So probably the best way to test this would be in the edit page. We have this lovely error here because I'm not running the server, am I? I'm not running the server. Let's run the server. That's pretty cool. We got an error message showing up. So let's just go back. I bet it will work this time. There we go. So let's go to our back to our Flutter app, and let's go to our venue form component, and we can deal with our image uploading. I'm just going to clean this file up a bit, and I don't know why Cupertino's there. Okay, cool. So we'll just save that. I do still need to solve this silly issue. I will before the next video. We will get that. That's happening, hopefully. But yeah, let's edit. And what I would like to do is, this is going to be something, again, not specific to venue. So we're going to build this in core, the actual implementation of something. So we're going to have a component, and we're going to call it, actually, no, we're not going to do this in core. We are going to make a new feature called asset, which is going to have components. And it's going to also need a services, and probably some providers. So let's just get those ready to go. So let's first of all just make the simple starting component. So we'll call this asset upload component or something. And here we'll make this a stateless consumer for now. Asset upload component. We will import in our Serverpod, and we will import in material. And for now, let's just return text that says to do, as is tradition. And in our venue form component, I feel like this can go after the name. So we're just going to import this like that. Now, that's enough for now. And if we actually go back to editing a venue, we should see the word to do. There we go. Yay. Okay. So before we get too much into this, let's actually work on the service side of this. So we're going to have something called asset service.dart. And this will be just called asset service. And if we look at any of our other services, let's look at the venue service, for instance. We'll kind of follow the same idea. We're going to pass our client in, our Serverpod client, and we're going to require the client. And now we're going to actually create the way to upload our file. Okay, so the way I want this to work is we're going to be working with a package called, what's it called? File picker or something. No, I think it's just called image picker. So we should probably get that installed actually. So Flutter pub get or pub add image picker. This is our typical go-to, choose an image from your library or take a photo kind of thing. And with Image Picker, one of its dependencies is something called cross-file, which is just like cross-platform file sort of stuff. And what I would like to do is that will be the thing we pass in. So basically the Image Picker class will be like, hey, I got an image, and we'll pass it to this service. So let's do that. And this will essentially return either a string, meaning an error, as usual, or a string, which will be actually the URL of it. And we're going to call this upload image. And we're going to have this X file, like I was saying, that we can get from our Image Picker library. We'll just call this, what do you want to call this? I guess just image. We call it image file. I don't know. This will be asynchronous. Now, what I would like to do is we're going to, just to not have to worry about dealing with collisions of files and that kind of stuff, we are going to generate a random name for our file. And we have this lovely generate random string function, which maybe we haven't made this yet. So let's get that in core utils. Just make something called string utils.dart. And we'll do this the same kind of way, class string utils. And let's actually grab our, this is a function that if you've watched any of my other videos, you've probably seen. It's just something that generates a random string based on these characters and returns it, and we can pass in a length. So now we can actually go string utils string utils, there we go, dot generate random string. So we're just gonna get this random string, and then it's gonna take whatever the extension is by getting the path, splitting it on the dot, and getting the very last thing in that list. So it'll be the extension essentially. Okay, so that's cool. We have a good start there. Now we have to get the upload description, and this is what's coming from our server. So we go final upload description equals, and we're going to await, and we're going to use our client dot asset. So that's the generated endpoint dot get upload description. So that's just this right here. Asset endpoint. That's just this right here. We're going to call this, and we have to pass in a path. So our path is actually going to be just the name of the file. Actually, I want to do this a little bit differently. We're going to make, because the path doesn't have to just be the file name, it can be the actual path of where it's stored on the S3. So we're actually going to use the random string to kind of generate the directory, and then we'll actually use the image dot, I think there's just an image dot file name, dot name, image dot name. Is that what we were? We'll test to see if I pretty sure name. Okay, this is the name as it was on the user's device. Okay, cool. That way, like we'll keep the same file name that whatever the user uploaded, just in case there's a place they want to see it again. It's not going to be some random gibberish name, but we're going to be storing it in kind of a random gibberish folder. Upload description. So we get it. Now this is going to return, I believe, a string, a nullable string. So first, let's just make sure if upload description equals null, we're going to essentially return left because there's an error, and we'll just say could not initiate upload. That works for me, and we just return out, so we're good. Otherwise, we know it's not null. Now we need to actually upload the file, and luckily Serverpod has something for us on this. So we can just make something called an uploader, or I'll call it uploader, and it's basically a file uploader. And we can look at this, and it deals with all the stuff for us. You can look through this code, it's fine, it's all good. But basically we just pass in the upload description for it to do some things. And what we want to do is actually get the data from it. So I'm going to make something called a stream, and it's going to be equal to image.openRead. And now we actually, what do we have to do next? Now we actually have to upload it. So we will go await uploader.upload. We pass in the stream, and then the length of it is actually the, we need to get the length of the file. So we'll just call this length, and it's going to be equal to, we essentially have to await the read as byte, wait image.read as bytes. There might be a better way to do this, but this is fine for now. So we're going to await that. And then we just want to get the length of it. And that'll actually be the length in bytes of this. Cool. Then so this is going to go, this actually is the thing that uploads it to the S3. Awesome. Yay. It's going to go do its thing. We're all happy. Now, in order to know if it worked, we actually go we're going to get success equals await. Now we do client.verify, or sorry, .asset.verify upload and pass in the path. Now the path is actually really the name here. And in fact, maybe we should call this path. Maybe I'll call it like remote path, just to make it really clear. Remote path. And we can go now, success is always a Boolean, it's not nullable, so we can go if not success. We can then return a left, could not complete upload. Otherwise, what we want to, what we're going to get back in this, where do we get it? It's in the upload description. This is a string that comes back. Unfortunately, it's actually a string of JSON data if everything went correctly. So what we actually have to do is JSON decode the upload description. So here we go. We're going to use our JSON decode. So we're going to pass. I am going to put this in a try, and in fact, actually, this whole thing should probably be in a try catch. We'll just put the whole thing in a moment. And then what we want to check is there should be a key of this decoded description called URL, and we can check if decoded description does not contain key URL. Then we're going to return left. Could not get URL of uploaded file. Let's just put some nice little periods here, here, and here. Otherwise, what we're going to return is essentially our oh yeah, we're going to return. Let's paste this in. So the URL itself, and we'll print some stuff out so we can see this. This should be remote path actually. Oh, and we have to not return the string itself, but return right of it for success, right? So let's actually, just so we can actually see how this works, let's go, I'm just going to print some stuff. Upload description, and then we'll do the upload description, just so we can see, how these things are. Let's also, I mean, that's the main thing I want to print, just so I can kind of explain this after, because, getting from here to here without actually seeing it is probably a little bit confusing. So, okay, we have our wicked asset service. Now what we want is an asset service provider. Service provider .dart. And I just want to see, we did this with, was it venue service provider? Yeah. I'm just going to copy all this stuff. We're going to call this asset service, because that's what's going to be returned. Asset service. We pass this in. We'll call this asset service ref. And asset service, asset, that looks right. And then we want it to be this, and we don't need this file. Asset service, I have an extra E there, cool. So this is just gonna be our provider for that. So we will run our build runner. I hope we didn't make a mistake. And this will just allow us to get access to our asset service as a singleton. Beep, beep, beep. Okay, everything went well there. Now, something I'm going to do in the background, actually, we did install a package, the image picker package. Actually, there's two things we have to do. Let's just look at the docs for that. Flutter image picker. Because we need to also put some stuff in our plist to allow files, or allow the SDK to work. So we need, yeah, these keys here. And let's get those in. So we're going to go to our info.plist. Info.plist for iOS. And so we've already kind of done this before for our location stuff in 2 videos ago. But we're going to add something for iOS, NS photo library usage description, camera, microphone, that's all. I didn't mean to paste that. Get rid of that. Okay, so we'll have that, which means we have to restart our iOS app, like rebuild it to get this, but we also have to restart it anyways because we installed a package that's doing native stuff. So I'm going to just stop it here, and we are going to now just rebuild in the background while we wait. Now there's probably some Android installation stuff too. Android, starting with this, no configuration required, should work out of the box. Okay, cool. So we won't worry about it for Android until we find a problem. Okay, while that's going, let me just clean up a bit here. We're going to go to our asset uploader component. And try and make some cool stuff happen. Trying to remember how we want to do this. One sec. All right. Okay, everything built. I don't see any issues. Let's test this out. So let's see. What we're going to do is we'll start pretty basic. Let's just start with an elevated button. And on pressed, we're going to do something. And child, we're going to do something. Child will just be text saying upload image. This will get fancier as we go. Okay, so on our on pressed event, what do we want to do? Well, first we need to work with our image picker library. So we'll just make something called picker, and it's going to be of image picker. So that's just the package we installed. All is good. Then we're actually going to get an image, and we're going to go image equals, and we're going to go await picker dot pick image. Let's make this asynchronous so we can actually await. And for source, for now we're just going to use image source dot gallery, but in the future we'll probably make it so there's like a choice you get to make. Use the camera, use the gallery. On simulator, only gallery works, at least on iOS simulator. Android gives you a fake camera. That's pretty cool. Okay, so this will get us image, but this could be null, meaning something went wrong or they just canceled doing it. So we need to, of course, check if image, let's just do it this way. If image equals null, we'll just return out. We're not going to show an error because chances are they just canceled it. Then we'll go final result is going to be equal to await. And here we'll do our ref.read, and we'll get access to our asset service provider, and we'll go upload image, and we'll pass in that image. Fair enough. So this result, is an either. So now what we'll want to do is do result dot fold on left. We'll have an error. And on right, we'll have essentially we'll call it image URL. Cool. And that is a string. That means everything went right. So here we can just do we have a toast? Yeah, we have toast utils.message. And we can just, put the error as a toast, which is fine. And then for our image URL for now, let's just print our image URL and see if image URL. Let's see if that actually worked. Okay, so now we have this lovely image picker thing, pretty basic. Let's go to our Harveys. Let's go here, and now we'll actually see this thing called upload image, which should show this. I'm going to allow full access, and we'll choose this lovely sample photo here. Could not complete upload. Let's see what went wrong. We can look at our debug console. Okay, it looks like stuff worked. So why are we getting that? Let's look at this. Could not complete upload. Okay, success. Okay, I have a feeling I know what happened here, but let's check some things. Let's go to our thing here, and let's just refresh. Okay, no files there. So open mic developed, multi-part file. So something went wrong. Let's look at our server logs, because I imagine verify upload, get upload description. No, okay. Interesting. Let's just check some stuff here. Okay, I'm just in the Amazon thing for the bucket. I think we didn't configure cores. That could be the problem. So let's edit this. Do I have... Let me just see if my other bucket has cores here. Wait, permissions? I have to do a couple things. I'm going to copy this. Let's make our bucket policy. So let's go back here to permissions, bucket policy. We're just going to say like allow anyone to read, and we just have to change this to say open mic. Wait, what was this called? Develop. Open mic develop. So we'll save that change. That could have been part of the problem, but I don't think that was it. And then let's go to our cores because we need to deal with that too. This I don't think is the problem either because this would be for web, but we are building a web application, so we're going to want cores for that. So let's just go to our good friend ChatGPT rather than looking this up. Cores policy for AWS bucket, allow read, or just allow. Let's see. Yeah. I just want the policy. Yeah, this is what we want. We want to allow headers. I really don't think this is the issue, but we're still gonna put this in for the future because this will be an issue on web. Looks like we're good. Okay. Did I restart my server since we configured? Yeah, we must have, because I saw in here this verify upload remote path. Okay, so this should have been, there's the URL. If not success, could not complete upload. The file definitely isn't there, so something definitely went wrong. Decoded description contain URL. Okay, so I've just been debugging this off camera for a moment, and I think the problem is I didn't really set up the permissions properly. So we're actually gonna do this properly, I think. So what I've done is I've gone to IAM, sorry. So we'll just do this again. We'll go to policies. We're gonna create a new policy, and we're gonna go to JSON, and I'm going to paste this in here, which I just got. It's basically just a policy that's saying put object, get object, and list bucket. Now we gotta put our bucket name, which is called open mic develop, and we also want access to not just the bucket itself, but anything inside the bucket, which is what the second line does. So we'll create that, and we're gonna call this open mic develop bucket access, or S3 access, sure. And I will create this policy. Now we're going to go to users, I think, and we'll go to that one that we actually created already. And let's search for, let's add a permission, add permissions, attach policy directly, and let's see if we can find that in here. It was called open mic. There it is. So I'm going to actually add that permission to add permissions. Now I realize I think in my on my editor right now I have my AWS stuff open, so give me 1 sec. I'm just gonna clear my screen for a minute. Okay, and we're back, and my face is back too. That's great. Welcome back, face. Okay, so I think that might have been the problem. The way I debug this, I actually tried changing my AWS security credential to I changed it, so it was definitely not working. And I was still getting the same data back, so I think this is the problem. So I'm just gonna rebuild the front end. Technically, we don't have to, but we're doing it anyways. So let's try this. Upload image. Hoping for the best here. Cannot complete upload. That's so strange. Okay, we're gonna go back here. We are going to go to our bucket, open mic develop, refresh. Yeah, there's no files getting in here. What else did ChatGPT say? Okay, replace your bucket name with your actual bucket. Yeah. So something is very strange. I've never had this problem before, although this is a new AWS account. All right, I'm going to keep trying to figure this out. All right, so I spent some time trying to figure this out. and I don't have a great, I don't have any advice yet. I'm having a problem with the bucket. It's just not working. I made it exactly the same as another bucket that was working. I even tried it with root credentials. That wasn't working. Something weird is going on. It could be because it's just like a new AWS account. Maybe I didn't like verify something or whatever. But I have it working now using a different AWS account. So we're just gonna keep moving forward. So nothing has changed since I paused in terms of the code, other than the fact that I configured a different AWS bucket. So we can just keep going. So we are getting this to work now. I can go upload image, and we can click this. And although we're not updating anything in the UI, we have a URL here. And if I click this and actually go, you're going to see that although it's going to like force a download, we'll actually be able to see this here. And there we have the lovely image we just uploaded. So everything's working. We're good. Now let's actually finish up the UI for this. So essentially how I want this to work, the upload component, we're going to allow some things to be passed in here. So we're going to have a string of the actual URL. And yeah, it'll be required, obviously, required this dot URL. And we're going to rely on the fact if this string is empty, it means there isn't actually an image yet. Then what we're going to have is a final function. Let's call it on complete, but it will pass back a URL on complete. And we're also going to make that required, this dot on complete. So what we're going to do is when this actually works, instead of printing the image URL, we're just going to call on complete image URL. Okay, cool. Now, what we also need to do is, instead of just having a button here, we're going to wrap this actually in a row, and we're going to have sort of a image.network that is going to use the URL here. And let's just give it like a width of like 32, a height of 32, and a box fit dot cover, just so it looks nice. Now we only want to do this if we want to go if URL dot is not empty. We will use that. Otherwise, we're just going to have maybe an icon of an icons dot image. I feel like there's like an image empty or something. Image not supported. There we go. Image not supported, kind of showing something like that. Okay, cool. And let's also maybe above this, put this in a column. Main axis size dot min. And let's allow one more thing to be passed in here. Final string, and we'll have it called label. We won't make this required. This dot label. And what we can do is we can have text here that essentially has the label, but if it's null, it'll fall back to just like upload image. Okay, that is cool. Now, column. Oh yeah, we already did that, but let's do our cross-axis alignment. Cross-axis alignment dot start, and we'll probably want just a bit of space here, so we'll use a size box with a height of 8, maybe 6. Okay, so that's all good. Now we are going to have this error because there's some required things. So let's go back here and put these in. So the URL is going to be our state.venue.image primary image URL, and then on the on complete, which will get us a let's just call it URL here. We're going to have to do something here. So for now, let's just print URL here instead. And we can also give it a label. Let's give it a label called, let's just call it like venue image or something. Okay, we'll save everything. We will go back to here, and there we go, upload image. I did mean to do something else where I want this to be kind of all the way to the right. So a couple ways to do this, but we'll just do main axis alignment dot space between. Okay, edit this. There we go. Venue image. I mean, it's not perfect actually. I don't care right now. Let's just see if this will work. So we will go like this. Let's get our debug console open, clear everything, choose an image, and now we should actually see that being printed there. Everything's good. Let's go to our venue form provider. And now we're going to add another setter here. We'll just call it set primary image URL and string URL. And actually, let's make this, yeah, actually that'll work. So now we'll just grab this, but instead of doing all these sorts of things, what we want to change is the primary image URL being the URL. And we'll just do that. Back in our upload component, sorry, not in our upload component, but our venue form component, we're going to go provider dot set primary image URL and do the URL. Okay, cool. So let's save that. And let's test this out. Oh, there's one more thing we need to do to actually make this. Oh no, actually we did it already. So let's just see if this works. Hey, upload image. Okay, choose that. And now you see this lovely image goes here. I'm sure it's not, maybe that's not the most beautiful way of doing this. We could probably make it prettier, maybe using a list tile or something, which I'll do really quickly. But I also want to do some other nice things here. Let's go to our upload component. So yeah, instead, let's actually, instead of even, we can probably actually, let's just start this over kind of thing. We're actually just going to use a list tile. List tile. And what we can do for its leading is essentially do the same thing we did before, taking this sort of stuff. And I think probably a little bit bigger, 48, let's call it, 48. So that's our leading. Then for label, or for title, we can use the label. I guess it still has to be text, but we can use the label. If not, fall back to image. Let's just say image, sure. Maybe we'll make label required. Required this label. So we'll just put the label there. That'll be fine. Then for trailing, this is where we'll take essentially that button we made. So we'll grab our elevated button, and that's all of it there, I believe. Okay. Then we can safely, I believe, get rid of all this stuff here. Now, what I want to do is upload image. Instead of it saying upload image, let's go if image or URL dot is empty. Let's say upload image. Otherwise, replace image. And let's wrap this whole thing in a card. Okay. Okay, yeah, so we have replace image, upload image. We might want an option also to remove the image. Replace image, maybe not. Let's just see if this works. Okay, so there, upload image. Yeah, that looks okay. I don't think it needs the card actually. It's not perfect, but it works. We got our lovely thing in there. There's this weird padding that it just comes inherent with list tiles. There's a way to content padding, edge insets.0. There's other pad. I don't think that's going to do it though. Let's see. Oh, actually, yeah, it looks like it did. There we go. So that looks all right. Now let's actually just try saving this. And yes, it didn't seem to work, but look, it's still there. And it's because in our detail screen, venue detail screen, but not the screen itself, the detail component, we actually want to use our, what is this called? Venue.image primary URL. Now remember, this is not a nullable field. We're kind of using the idea of empty, meaning it doesn't exist. So we'll probably want to do something like if venue.dot is not empty, we'll put that. So now we have that lovely thing there. And I guess we're already doing this in the list tile, which is kind of nice. So let's just see if everything works. We're going to change this to this. Replace. we're going to click save. And look, it automatically updates, and it automatically updates there because we're doing everything in the best way ever. Okay, I'm going to leave it there for this video. This is pretty good. Had a little stumble on figuring out something with my AWS permissions. Not my favorite place to be, and this is the AWS console. But if anyone in the comments want to, describe how they did it, if not, we might come back to this in the future. But this is obviously working, and I am good. All right, take care, and see you in the next video.